There we are. Sorry for the delay, folks. We have a number of last minute comments and considerations we have to do for the meeting. So we've got that all underway now. So welcome and good afternoon and welcome to the February 18th regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. Council, first up on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are 2 amendments to today's agenda. And I'm going to ask for mover and seconder for the recommendations after I read out what's the changes to the agenda. On 1B, the delegation from Oceanside Child Youth Wellness Advocates Group will be removed from the agenda because they are unable to make the meeting today. So we're going to move along without them at this time. Also, we have a notice of motion by Councillor Beale that be added to the agenda as item 4A, and the remaining item on the agenda remains numbered accordingly. Our procedure advises that we need council unanimous approval if we want to have this discussed today. Councillor Beale's notice of motion, and we need to vote on that before I get it added to the agenda. So Councillor Beale, if I could just get you to read your notice of motion. Otherwise, it goes on as a notice of motion because it came in late. And so it would go on to the next meeting. But if we can hear it today with everyone's approval, then we'll hear it today and we'll have it on the agenda later on. Go ahead, Councillor Beale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that consideration. The notice of motion is that the City of Parksville provide funding in the amount of $1,500 from council contingency to the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce to sponsor the Citizen of the Year Award, which will be presented at the Chamber Business Excellence Awards on March 26, 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Beale. I'll ask permission from council. All those in favor of hearing it today and discussing today? You just had to be last, didn't you? That is unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Beale, that will be on the agenda for today's, and it will come up later on in the agenda, which isn't far away. So we'll be at it pretty quick. Okay, thank you. Do I have a mover seconder for the recommendations to the new revised agenda? Thank you, Councillor Gore, and seconded by Councillor Wood. Any errors or omissions or discussion regarding the consent agenda as presented? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you, that carries. So now we're down to 1 delegation appearing today. The next delegation is Broombusters Invasive Plant Society. Invasive Plant Management update from Joanne Sales. Joanne, haven't seen you. Well, we haven't seen you this year. We've seen you a few other times. It's good to see you again. Thank you and welcome to council. You have 10 minutes for your presentation, Joanne.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, Mayor O'Brien and council members and friends. Thank you for letting me speak today. This is our Broombusters 20th anniversary. So that means I've been here 19 times. So thank you.
Sure.
So we counted up our hours of 20 years and documented hours. Broombusters have cut broom for 75,000 hours in the past 20 years. So, and why? Because there's so many terrible things we can say about Scotch broom. It's a serious threat to biodiversity. It's toxic to wildlife, negatively impacts food security, forestry, tourism, and our safety and health. But worst of all, yes, it's flammable. Scotch broom is a volatile flash fuel. It'll increase a wildfire's fuel load, escalate fire's intensity, compromise fire situations, and make fires more difficult to fight. Why is it so hazardous? It has high oil content, so it's an easy ignition source, makes massive amounts of dry vegetation, increasing fuel load, grows 9 feet tall, so it's a ladder fuel, and it forms dense, widespread thickets, forming fuel continuity, and it grows everywhere. So contributing to urban interface fire dangers. But I want to start by going south 1,500 kilometers to Santa Rosa, California and surrounding counties and talk about the Tubbs Fire. During the span of more than 23 days in October 2017, this wildfire consumed 36,807 acres, destroyed 5,643 homes and buildings, and took 22 lives. My now son-in-law, Rob, was in the Tubbs fire. He was asleep at midnight when the firefighter pounded on his door and said, "You have minutes, get out." Rob rushed off the farm property in his pajamas and the house burnt to ashes. He was living in a truck when we met him. And when Rob first came to Vancouver Island, it was in May, and it was broom blooming season, and he learned what Scotch broom was. That Scotch broom, that was the plant that covered the fields where I lived in Santa Rosa. I didn't know it was flammable. No wonder it burned so quickly. I personally visited Santa Rosa in 2018 and saw the fire and saw the devastation from the fire. But this is what got my attention. Santa Rosa is rebuilding, and to prevent another catastrophic wildfire, their top priority is eliminate Scotch broom. Their ordinance reads, Scotch broom is a non-native hazardous vegetation that must be removed if it's within 30 feet of a public right-of-way, 100 feet of a structure, or 30 feet of a property line. Sale of broom is prohibited anywhere in California, and Sonoma County has a similar ordinance to this. So that's 30 feet from any roadside. That's quite impressive. Now, reality check. Those ordinances will not pass here now. Timing and budgets will not allow. But what can we do? Well, for 19 years, with the city's support, broom busters have been able to remove broom in and near Parksville to make the city safer from urban interface fires. And this is our 20th anniversary. As I said, 75,000 hours of cutting broom. So this photo is right at the edge of Parksville overlooking Northwest Bay. There were 40 people there in 2012. I'm going to show a few photos from the past. Island Highway had massive broom all up and down Island Highway, and there's hardly anything left there. There's some gorse. Unfortunately, gorse is harder to get rid of. So the urgent care center was covered with broom around the building and around the pond. The railway station and the water tower had a lot of broom, and that's an ongoing battle, but it looks pretty clean now. Parksville Youth has been involved since the beginning. The teenagers on the right were cutting Northwest Bay Road in Parksville. And this was Parksville's 10th anniversary celebration in 2017. If any of you were there, we had goats and the whole bit. It was a lot of fun. And Parksville wetlands, it's really important that we keep the wetlands clear of broom. So recognizing the flammability of broom in 2023, AVICC and UBCM passed the resolution control of Scotch broom, calling, among other things, for fire breaks along long stretches of broom. The longest stretches of broom affecting Parksville are just outside city boundaries. Invasive plants and fire doesn't know any boundaries. So here's some pictures of just outside of Parksville. This was Parksville's north exit, interchanges. This was Parksville South exit. This is like at the weigh scales, and there was so much broom there, as you can see. But this is a really amazing photo. There's 2012. The broom was everywhere there. 2022, no broom. Okay, so it's an ongoing battle called the Battle of 46 by volunteers. The difficult thing is that the forest was cut, and you can see where the forest had broom next to it. So now that property has been dealing with broom invasion, and thank you to the bylaws officer, they're getting it under control. So the Parksville Coombs Trail is a problem because giant broom lines the Coombs Trail because of the railway. And that is a possible path of fire from Parksville to Coombs and Coombs to Parksville. So the power lines on Vancouver Island create the longest stretches of Scotch broom. Scotch broom keeps trees from growing, which is helpful to BC Hydro because they don't want trees. So they let the broom spread freely. Unfortunately, we have miles and miles of flammable broom and hot, dry summers. So we are concerned. The most dangerous areas for Parksville are on the north side of exit 51, where the power line crosses Highway 19. This is way too much for volunteers to tackle. What can be done? We don't know. So we want to thank Parksville for 19 years of active support, and we ask for support again in 2026. The help we need from the city will be to continue to remove piles that are cut by volunteers. There are properties with broom that we will be asking bylaws to address. Publicity, we want residents to know that the city supports our activity. Sometimes we've had complaints by residents just saying that, what are you doing? You know, nobody asked you to do this. And it would help to know, for them to know that the city approves of what we're doing. And one way to do that is a few signs at the entrances to the city just for 4 weeks, you know, just to let people know this is the time to do it. Another benefit of broom busting is it builds community and restores hope. We definitely need that right now. So let's cut the bloomin' broom. Thank you.
I just want to know who the poor soul is with their hand up on the right.
Isn't that great? High school students know what to do.
I hope you rescued him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joanne. Thanks once again for everything and your volunteers. Again, much appreciated. We've noticed the broom come to next to nil habitation in Parksville of late and so forth, and a couple of very prominent spots have been covered over with concrete buildings now, and so that's taken care of that problem. We don't have to go after them anymore, do we?
Yeah.
So that was good news, but the rest of it we will continue as the city. It's in our work plan for them to follow in your tracks.
Thank
and
you.
we'll pick up the piles as well. So that continues on. So thank you again once
Thank you.
for all your service for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Years.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Comments from council? Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're reaching for your mic, so I'm going to say Councilor Gar.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sales, for the presentation. And again, thank you to you and your volunteers for the amazing work that you folks do. One thing that I've noticed about broom, that you remove it, but it keeps coming back. And that's what you referred to the Battle 46. Hopefully this does not become a 100 years war. Are there any other means that you've seen are successful in eliminating broom other than the annual cutting that the volunteers do? And second question is, on the privately owned lots, do you see a lot of interest and uptake from the property owners in removing the broom? Because we were seeing some increased broom around the resort areas on the private lands. So have you seen a more awareness in the private landowners?
Yes, so probably one thing that I should have talked about is about cutting and about the removal. Okay, so actually we don't have to go back to most areas that we've cut. Like if we're going to have a map made of the Parksville, Qualicum Beach, you know, Coombs area of all the areas where broom was and is no more, right? So like if you go from Qualicum Beach to Coombs, you know, past Hilliers Road and that whole road to get to Coombs Country, you know, right at the intersection, there's no broom there anymore. And there hasn't been for 10 years. Somebody will go along the line and if some broom comes back, then, you know, then we cut it. Qualicum Beach is 99.9% free of broom. So the key is that if you cut it properly at ground level, it doesn't regrow from the roots. So, you know, that's why we cut instead of pull, because if you pull it, it spreads by seeds, only by seeds. And so if people pull it out, then it's going to come back in mass, you know. So it's like sometimes we cut properly or volunteers cut properly and it doesn't come back, or, you know, you keep watch for 3 years or so. And then sometimes you know, you have to deal with it again and again. The reason why the Battle of 46 continues is because when the soil is bad, then it's hard to get rid of it. So it's like that's an area where there's, you know, big wide shoulders and so on. And so it's really sides of the road that's just like dirt, because the thing is that broom seeds will not sprout in the sun, in the shade. But if you have grass, or if you have weeds, or if you have anything, then it shades those seeds and they don't sprout. And the Battle of 46, unfortunately, because there's so much traffic, there's not much grass and protective ground cover. So fortunately, it's not quite as bad that we don't have to keep cutting the same areas every year. Yeah, so that's some good news. As far as private landowners, most people are aware now that that broom is not a good plant to have around, especially when you start talking about it being a fire hazard. But that's why the bylaws departments are here, and they do a good job. We don't overwhelm them with every property. We pick out a few properties, each year, and they inform them that they need to get rid of the broom, and they do. And we're so grateful that Parksville has a bylaw.
Right, thank you. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Joanne. I think we've heard you speak each year at the RDN and here, and maybe there's another one too. So it might be my 10th time hearing you or something. But I appreciate your work and the volunteers' work. On the BC Hydro side of things, have they publicly made any statements as to their position on it? And as this, I'm guessing that this is always in your head, and you try to fall asleep, and it's in your head. Is there any way we can incentivize BC Hydro to, help us deal with the situation and make them want to help instead of just let it grow so that they don't have trees under their lines? Thanks.
Well, the first step would be to say we do want to have fire breaks, right? And so that is something that I think Parksville could say. It's like, we need a fire break so that it's not right next to our property lines. There's also the problem of development properties, like right behind Buckerfield and so on. And the same thing. Sometimes it's just like good neighbor, it's like, this is a fire hazard. We would appreciate it, if you can get rid of it, if it's outside of Parksville boundaries. I'm in touch with BC Hydro. Usually I have a conversation every year. And what we've been told is there is no pressure from government entities, so they don't need to do anything. Different municipalities have decided, we want to take action, but we can't control it in our own area. So how can we in fact make it into a noxious weed or something? But it's really a very difficult situation we're in, where the reason why Scotch broom is not addressed is because it's already so widespread. But, it's like, you can't leave it to future generations, it's just going to keep getting worse. So BC Hydro will say things about that it's a lot of the land that they go over is private land. And they say, well, maybe the people on the private land want the broom, but the truth is nobody wants the broom. It came there. And so if you find a solution, we will be eternally indebted to you. But I think the first thing to do would be to address the fire danger that's presented by municipalities, whether it's Ladysmith or Nanaimo or Qualicum Beach. It's like, we want a fire break where it's a serious danger to us, because when it does catch fire, it goes up like kerosene. So.
Follow up, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Joanne, I'll reach out to you after the meeting, but I kind of feel like if there hasn't been UBCM resolutions for this, that might be a way, especially if we could push at least some shade of responsibility of fires onto BC Hydro, so that they're a little bit nervous of the liability of it. That might give them a little bit of fire under their butts there. So I'll get back to you, and we'll see what we can kind of work on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
As a follow-up to Councillor Wood's questioning on that regarding UBCM, Joanne, is Vancouver Island just a broom buster anomaly, or is it throughout other locations in British Columbia as well?
You mean the Scotch broom?
Scotch broom.
Well, it started in 1850 in Souk, and then it's been moving north, but it was intentionally planted, and not just by BC Hydro. It was by the railways and roads, because they didn't know how badly it would spread. Okay. But in defense of everybody except BC Hydro, everybody else hates it and wants to get rid of it. It's just a matter of trying to control it. Like the Ministry of Transportation supports us in working on the highways and so on. So it's gotten pretty bad in the mainland. What they call bad, we're like, hey, I could cut that in an afternoon. Would you please go out and cut that area? But it is definitely spreading and starting to cause a problem in the mainland as well.
So I'm thinking about where we had the wildfires, predominantly a lot in the Okanagan as well as northern British Columbia. So Broome hasn't really taken hold up there. Like I'm trying to get buy-in from UBCM, which is, for all of British Columbia to get
Yeah.
that buy-in from that group. But if it's just Vancouver Island predominantly, we're trying to have BC Hydro address the power cuts. Anyways, that's where predominantly where we have to stop that, create
Yeah,
a
I
fire
think the
break.
mainland, oh, excuse me. I think that the people of the mainland would definitely support it. They did in 2023, when they did pass the resolution. And now I think with a much more of a focus directly on wildfire, another resolution would be a good thing.
Right, especially considering the fact of how wildfire spreads type of thing. And if the power lines provide a natural break when they're not filled with broom.
Yes, yeah.
So that's something definitely worth pursuing. So
Yeah.
I thank you for that suggestion. We'll take that under advisement and see if we can raise a couple issues here. Okay,
Thank you.
Joanne. Yes, go ahead. Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Joanne, I'd like to add my thanks to you and to Broom Busters for all the work that's been done over the years. And I recognize some of the folks in some of those photos, so that's always fun as well. I do have a couple of questions. You mentioned that one way that Parksville can assist is with posting signs at the entrances. Now, are these signs that you have and that the city can place, or is a request for the city to create some signs? I just wasn't clear about that. That's one question I have.
No, it's just the sign that, is about this size on chloroplast and the signs you've seen around here and there, but we don't normally put it in the property in Parksville or in the municipalities. But it would be wonderful for people to see it all the time. Yeah.
So thank you. So I presume that's nothing too complicated if we can, just let those signs be. I don't know if we need to do anything about that.
We'd have to
Yeah.
consult, have to consult
With
staff
staff.
what that looks like,
Sure.
because recognize that we have sign bylaws.
Yeah.
So forth. And so I understand putting signs out if your people are actively cutting broom to warn motorists. I know that's not a problem, when you're actively cutting in an area.
Yeah.
Because you're right on the side of the highways, a lot of your volunteers. So definitely have no problem say, like people that work here, like give them some space, something like that, whatever it is. But as far as the regular sign that's going to be as a permanent addition, then we'll check with staff if that's
Yeah.
a possibility. But we have sign bylaws in place for other reasons, because of course everyone feels that their sign is deserving to be placed there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's I think how we'd handle that one, Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't thinking that it would be permanent, but during
Oh,
the
no.
period when things
Yeah.
are being cut. So it would be great if staff can, provide some information and feedback about that. Another question I had to do with just a procedure for, and I'm thinking of a particular property that I'm very aware of on the way out, going south on 19A, that has an enormous amount of broom that has grown and spread along there. But of course, it's not ready to be cut at this time. So I guess two parts is one, and perhaps a question to staff as to, what procedure is followed. Does someone need to report the address? Is this something that bylaw can do on its own? And also what I'm wondering, and this would be a question more to staff, is there information provided to landowners that explains the correct way to remove the broom? Because as you've stated, if it's not done correctly, it will in fact come back. So there's a two-part there. I just wondered if you're familiar with the procedure. Does Broom Busters offer any sort of direct support, or can people be hired to do this? Any information you have
Yeah.
about that, I would like to know.
Well, it's only in the municipalities that have a bylaw that we can address the bylaw office. So anybody like in Parksville, for example, if they're concerned about a particular place, they can submit something to the bylaw officer. Bylaw officers will then connect with the landowners. Our website contains a lot of good information, but you just gave me the idea that it's possible when you are connecting with bylaws, connecting with the property owner, that we could, give a handout and a direction of how to find the way to properly remove it, so that they don't have a frustrating experience of excavating the whole thing and they end up with, massive field of broom instead of a few plants.
Go ahead, Benny. Councillor Beal.
So, thank you. So I'm wondering if staff has any information about, what sort of information goes out from bylaw, or perhaps we don't have that information here today.
Mr. Russell, if you could comment on that, or if you'd like to take it on advisement.
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Bill, I do know that bylaw compliance as part of their duties has an educational component to educate people about the city's regulations. As far as the detail, if they're, providing specifics on the broom, I don't know, and we would have to get back to council. But as they are educating people on the city's bylaws, it's not a far stretch that they may also be providing advice to people on that.
Thank you. Follow up, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, and certainly as Councillor Gore mentioned earlier as well, like having to go back, and I can attest on my own property, which years ago, I'm talking decades now, did have considerable amount of broom. There is not one bit of broom, and no, it does not come back. And I have also been fortunate to work with other neighbors down in the estuary. And again, we worked every year on an area, and it's so gratifying to go by and see that there's nothing. Now, I know that there will be one or two that we've missed, but we had your great education about cutting right down there, covering it so that there's no sunlight on it, and it really doesn't come back if that's done well over time. So thank you again. And it's nice to hear that Parksville has been provided ongoing support and collecting the piles that you put out, and everything that we do helps, I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your presentation, for sure. It was, even though we hear it every year, it does bring it back. And I was wondering about the seeds. Do the seeds fly from the hydro places? Could they be going elsewhere? Because that would be another thing to make hydro understand about this.
Yes.
Because it is a curse, and we have to, for sure, let them know if they don't know that already. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yes, the seed spread. And you can see pictures of hydro lines going, next to a farmer's field or something. And then you'll see the broom starting to grow here and there. And that's how the seeds get there. But actually this year, it's interesting you say that. This year, I'm connecting with Mosaic about this. I mean, this is a common problem because they're having a terrible time because the BC hydro lines go right through the forests, and talk about spreading fire into the forest as well. But, sometimes when they'll have a clearing, right? And then the broom is here and the clearing is there. And before their trees can grow mature enough, the broom has moved in. So the forest companies, I have figures for Washington State and Oregon State about the millions of dollars that they lose every year because of Scotch broom. And I don't have the numbers for BC and what they're losing, but yes, it's a serious concern, and I'm actually communicating with Mosaic leaders, and we're talking about that to try to get some documentation of that, because if the forests are going to be cut, we want to make sure that they grow back. We don't want forests of broom. Yeah. Yes.
Let's see if there's anybody else first. Okay. Any other first-time speakers? Go ahead, Councillor Gretz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Joanne, again for your presentation, and congratulations on the 20 years, and appreciate all the work done by so many people with the commitment over those 20 years. I don't really want to wish you another 20 years because hopefully your work is completing itself, but I understand it's an ongoing challenge. I do have a question with regard to the fire breaks piece. We've recently heard from Island Corridor Foundation that they want to encourage the use of the corridor as a fire break potential. And they saw that happen during the Wesley Ridge fire, that they were in some ways able to help with fire breaks. Are you in touch with the Island Corridor Foundations as well? You're doing an excellent job on advocacy. So I was curious about that.
Yes, we were. Unfortunately, that they were going to cut like the worst area for this area is the Coombs Trail, the Coombs Parksville Trail. We were scheduled 2 years ago to get that cut, and then they went north instead of towards Port Alberni. And I'm going to get in touch with them again. I'm hoping that they actually can go towards Port Alberni now that the trestle is gone. Because it could create a problem of turning whatever trucks or whatever that, turning them around. But anyway, we have been in touch, and we're, begging to have the Coombs Trail cleared of broom. They did the area through other parts of Parksville and then north. Yes, yeah, and they would love to have the broom gone too. It's just a lot of work with limited resources. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a match made in heaven there, maybe, I think, because everyone wants to get that out of the corridor as well. So thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, Joanne, a question that I have is, are there people or contractors around that one can hire to assist with cutting the broom? And is it possible through your organization for people to get recommendations? And again, I'm thinking about, well, one particular property that has a huge amount. And, I think it would be quite daunting and that they may need assistance. So
Yeah.
where people can pay to get, are there people who've had the training or have a little business, or people that you can recommend, or broom busters directly?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually in Nanaimo, broom busters have made a lot of money for broom busters by being hired by private landowners or developers and so on to clear the broom off of private property. So that's something that happens, and it can happen. And I think I need to reach out to some of the landscape companies. Sometimes we will have them come and they will actually volunteer time, but have to see whether some of them could be hired.
You good?
Maybe I can also provide a suggestion on the Coastal Invasive Species Council as well. I from time to time also provide services as well. So they may be somewhere to go as well. I don't know if you work with them at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the Invasive Species Council of BC board. But the coastal one's really important. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other further questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank
Once
you
again,
lots so
Joanne.
much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for all your crew as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Council, next on the agenda, we have our correspondence. We have one item of correspondence from the Regional District of Nanaimo regarding the Northern Community Search and Rescue Contribution, the Service Amendment Bylaw number 1736.02, 2026. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Councillor Gore. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I was going through the agenda, Mayor, and I saw the request for the increase for the service. I was hoping perhaps the RDN members could provide more insight for the reason for the increase. Because going back to the old bylaw, I think they increased it from $10,000 to $81,000 for the requisition. And I understand the apportionment still is the same based on population. So if you can provide some insight, why is the ask for so much of an increase by the service at the RDN? Thank you.
It was Councillor Wood. Yes, I'm not sure that's correct. So
Yeah, the easiest way is to watch the RDN meetings where ASAR presents to the board without having to go through all of their budget. But Nick from ASAR presented their budget, which has a big deficit this year. And so two parts to the RDN motion. One was to help them through just this year. in two ways. One was to increase what we give annually to ASAR, and the other was just a one-time top up for their budget this year. Ideally, in my opinion, search and rescue shouldn't be paid for by property taxes. But at the same time, particularly with the budget that we saw come out yesterday, there isn't provincial funding. There is a little bit through BC Lottery Corporation and some other grants that they apply for. But when search and rescue comes and presents to you their budget and they're hoping for this grant, we waited for them and they did get some British Columbia Lottery Corporation grant this year. It really just feels like it's incumbent on local governments to help them at least temporarily with the deficit that they have in their budget. And so without getting into their budget, because I don't have it in front of me, I would recommend that people watch, Nick's presentation to the RDN board and read the resolution from there. But the RDN board voted in favor of the top ups, and the numbers that were proposed at first, they actually came down, I think $20,000, Mayor, from what was proposed in the motion. So yeah.
Yeah, as I recall, it was reduced, and it was also, the discussion was much larger, Councillor Gower, regarding the fact that they have a mortgage and so forth, and they also have an endowment as well to themselves, but they wanted to make it a interest-bearing endowment type of thing, so they didn't have to come back and ask for more, but they needed a top-up at this particular time, and they provided their financial statement to identify it, and then we looked at that and say, this is what we were prepared to do, but without having that in front of me right now, I can't tell you off the top of my head. I encourage you to have a look at it, but the RDN did endorse it, so.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yes.
your members at the RDN as well, we endorse it as well.
Understood. Thank you. No, the reason I asked is like there was no link in the agenda to the meeting where I could
Oh,
watch that. But I did see the last meeting where I think Nanaimo SAR did the same presentation, had the same ask. I think February 10th, I think Councillor Grens, I saw his face on the video. The reason I'm also asking is, would this also change our financial plan? Is the staff aware if our financial plan needs to be amended to include this change? Or
Amanda, could you touch on that? I'm not sure that you'd have that information yet. It might be a get back to you.
If I may, Mayor, I think we'd have to get back on the specifics.
Right.
But to me, it looks like it's it's part of the RDN funding, so it would be their budget that would be impacted, which I guess indirectly, in the grand scheme of things may adjust.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to you.
Yes, and to answer your question, it would adjust the city of Parksville apportionment, yes, probably, and that's it. And so that's what we deal with in our budget as well, so. And then that's why it's spread out over everybody. It makes it a little easier to digest. Okay. Very good.
I am, and it goes back to the same argument, like the property taxes we're charging to provide this service. And the province has a big deficit, which we already know is going to keep growing. So it looks like another service that will fall on property taxes to be taken care of. So, yeah, the province is out of money, and pretty soon our property taxpayers will be out of homes. So this is not sustainable, is what I see. Thank you.
Agree 100%. And yesterday just made it all that more prevalent. What is happening is going to continue to happen in a greater manner. So that's what we're dealing with. So thank you. Any other questions regarding this motion on the floor? Questions? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. The carries unanimous. Thank you. So now we're moving along here quickly to their notice of motion. The only notice of motion we have is now just a motion on the agenda. Councillor Beal wishes to provide the following motion regarding the city sponsorship of Citizen of the Year award for Chamber Gala. Councillor Beal, I'll let you read it out again. I know you did it at the start for the agenda, but if you could do it again, so we'll get it on the floor and then we can have a discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the motion is that the city of Parksville provide funding in the amount of $1,500 from council contingency to the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce to sponsor the Citizen of the Year Award, which will be presented at the Chamber Business Excellent Awards on March 26, 2026.
Thank you. Mover is Counselor Beal. I have a seconder for that. Counselor Wood. Okay. Counselor Beal, if you could speak to your motion, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we received a letter from the chamber, from the event coordinator earlier this month with a request, an opportunity, if you like. They're bringing back the Business Gala Awards this year, and it hadn't taken place for a couple of years, and they're reintroducing the Citizen of the Year Award. Now, in the past, City of Parksville has sponsored this particular award, and you know, I'm sure we can all think of very worthy, if you like, citizens in residence in Parksville who might be considered for this particular award. Sponsoring the award does include 2 complimentary tickets, logo recognition on event banners and the award itself, and the opportunity to present the award to the recipient during the evening. I've also learned, I did reach out and have a conversation with the executive director to learn a little bit more. My understanding is that following nominations on the various different categories, there's, you know, Small Business of the Year and Nonprofit of the Year and many more. But following the nomination time period, then a committee is struck to look at the nominations and make a selection. So if this motion is approved and passes, then we would have a voice at that table at part of that committee selecting the award. I think the idea of a Citizen of the Year, although I imagine actually in Parksville, we could probably have many, but it really is an opportunity to shine a spotlight on someone who has done some outstanding work, provided outstanding service to our residents. And I'm hoping that you will support this motion.
Yeah, thank you. Before I open it up further, just a comment on the complimentary tickets that are included. They're not really complimentary, as you can see. We're obviously paying for them. So, and that's just to be clear about that. But at the same time, recognizing too that council has a policy that the liaison, when the galas and the Chamber of Commerce galas occur, the liaison is always pays for a ticket for the city of Parksville, covers the cost of our liaison to attend any gala, regardless of contributing or not. We actually purchase a ticket, which we are pleased to do so. So I'll open it up to the rest of the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be voicing support for this. I went to a previous event a couple of weeks ago, and I was so impressed with the quality of the event under the new leadership. There were people there I've never seen before. I was standing beside Michelle Jones, and she's like, I don't know a lot of the people here. It was really busy and pulled off without a hitch. Amazing event. Just really impressed. And so it was encouraging for me. I'm a past member of the chamber, and I'm really impressed with the new leadership. So I wanted to put that on record.
Good, thanks. Any further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Frass.
Thank you. Through the mayor to staff, just a question of where contingency sits at.
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Fraz, out of the 25,000 contingency, 1,000 has been allocated thus far, leaving 24,000 available.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further comments? Councillor Gore?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. Thank you to Councillor Beal for bringing this forward. I think for us to recognize one individual, as I think Councillor Beal hinted towards, there's so many people who make such a huge contribution to this community, to this city. So this recognizes one person who makes a lasting positive impact. So I'm pretty sure this committee will have a hard time in finding that one of the so many nominations. But again, thank you to the chamber. Thank you, and I look forward to support from council on this as well. I'll support it as well. And thank you again for bringing this.
Thank you. I would just like to, you spoke already. Councillor Martin, did you have your hand up?
Yeah,
Go
thank you.
ahead.
Yeah. Yes, I support it too. I think that it's a wise thing to have the community involved in this area, and for sure. And it's been done in the past. And I think as Councillor Wood was mentioning, that they are really vibrant organization, and we have to do what we can to continue this on. Yeah. Thank you. And I'll support it too.
Thank you. Just my own comments. I'm not in supportive of this at this particular time, just because of the process. The process is for service agencies like this, they present to us during our financial plan, like they did as well. And at that time, if they had to present at the time or $1,500 request for sponsorship, would have been included with our ask for the rest of it, which, as you know, we come up with from our financial plan, just rough and dirty, 60,000 a year anyways, is what we have approved into our financial plan, and it gets built into our financial plan at that point. At that time, they should have made the request at that time, knowing that they're having an upcoming gala. It was not that far ago. That then it says, and then the request would have been, and plus we need $1,500 for, so we would have considered that at that time with full knowledge of what we had already provided to them. And that way we can include it in the financial plan. Contingency is for extreme examples of things come up, and I get that. But at the same time, I will not support this because I don't want to encourage this type of ask. I think that we need to consider it at the financial table, recognizing that contingency is taxpayer funds. So the reality is that the taxpayers are paying for this sponsorship. So for them to do that, as well as what else the supports that provide to the Chamber of Commerce, should be considered as a whole, not as a one-off like this. This, is an agency that had a seat in front of us to present their financial plan. So I will not be supporting it, but that's just on a process part of it. Go ahead, Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I appreciate you raising those thoughts, because I'd actually meant to make reference to that, because I totally appreciate and actually understand that typically we would expect organizations to come before council with asks at a much earlier time, at times that are set. But I think it's important to recognize and acknowledge that the chamber has been through a lot of shifting in their leadership. They've had a departure, and then they had someone part-time, that person left. And so in fact, when it was time for them to come before us, they did not have they were not in the position to definitely plan for the gala. They did not have the current leadership in place. I recognize how hard they have worked over these past few months to put something together. But it is certainly my intention as a liaison to bring forth to them the notion that they've really got to look at the year as a whole. You've got to plan out for that whole year and take these things into consideration. But I am aware that this came together, I won't say totally last minute, but they've worked really hard on it. They've got, completely different people in place who are just moving mountains to revitalize the chamber and plan events. And as Councillor Wood mentioned, the most recent one went off extremely well. So for that reason, I do want to support this, but I do recognize that this should not have come to us in this particular way at this particular time.
Councillor Fraz, go ahead.
Thank you to council through the mayor. I just want to first say thanks for your comments there, Mayor. I agree with what you were saying, and I was looking around the room thinking about it with our contingency, and I was alone in the thoughts there. So I'm glad to know that I'm not. The fact that they are a group that have a line item with us to be asking us for money outside of that, it's something that I wouldn't typically support. However, as you mentioned, Councillor Beal, with the changes that have gone on and with the comments of Councillor Wood, with the new direction that they have taken, I do want to support them and start them off on a good foot and show that support. I think Citizen of the Year is a great award for the city of Parksville to have our name behind as well. We've often have recognized citizens in the past here through our own awards. So I do think it's a great opportunity. I appreciate them offering the sponsorship opportunity to us rather than going outside of us first. Although I do think, $1,500 for that sponsorship, that not really swayed by the tickets or what it's about. And in that sense, I think the award and the recognition just letting us know that we would be behind it is great. But I wouldn't support this in the future if they came to us again. I have a hard time with the contingency being always broken into every time someone comes with an asks outside of the grant opportunities or other channels that are available there. I think the contingency should be used for when we have the need for it, not when people have an ask for us and the sponsorship. So I'm torn on this one because, as I mentioned, I completely agree with the mayor, but I think I will support it strictly on the basis that I'm wanting to give them the support for their new leadership and the relationship that we have with them. So that's where I stand on this.
Thank you. No, you have to put your hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. I think mostly it's been covered by Councillor Beal and Councillor Frost. But again, stressing the fact that this is not a financial aid to the chamber. This is us sponsoring an event, recognizing and appreciating the volunteers that we have in the city of Parksville. Very different. And similar cost or similar event, if you were to host like Qualicum Beach does, we are looking at thousands of dollars. I understand the process, but again, new leadership, new change, they are learning on the job. I would like to support this and thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Grens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to council. I also fully recognize the dipping into things without them coming to the meeting that the mayor points out, and I'm with Councillor Frass on having reservations around that. We did do just that last meeting when there was a delegation and money was given out at that meeting, which I supported at that time, and that was also a sponsorship, and that's where I feel a little more comfortable if it is a sponsorship as opposed to some kind of financial aid that becomes a recurring thing. And I'm in agreement with Councillor Frass that we do want to, I think, show support for the chamber as they are really improving what they're doing in terms of delivery in the community and in their mission. And I've been very impressed with the changes that they made recently, and I'd love to support that. I think to reward and celebrate the good work being done in our community by volunteers is something that will pay out great dividends in other ways that will probably save the city money. So I'm happy to support this with the same reservations already mentioned.
Any further comments? Okay, folks, thanks for your comments. It's good. I can read the room, so the voting no is not going to prove anything at this particular time. Other than the fact that I hope that the liaison can make sure the comments from council goes back to them about proper process. This is not a precedent. We are just taking this step anyways at this particular time. But next year, if they consider doing the same thing, that they present it at the correct time. I'm pretty confident our liaison is very apt and able, and we'll get that message back. So saying those, all those in favor. Thank you. That carries. Thanks, council. Liaison reports. Here we are already at liaison reports. First up is Councillor Gore regarding Access Oceanside Association. Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. AOA is working on updating their official website. The commercial accessibility project, I think you've been apprised of previously, is well underway. They are doing a survey of the downtown businesses to see how accessible the entrance to a business is. That has been completed, and if I'm remembering my stats correctly from that presentation, I think about only a third of the businesses were actually accessible for people to even get into the door into the business. The second phase of accessibility survey will be how accessible the inside of a business is. So a lot of work that needs to be done to make those businesses accessible, and AOA will be working with PDBA on how to improve accessibility in our stores and the shops downtown. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you. Councillor Beal, you're up anyways, and so you want to add on to Councillor Doris or?
Yes,
doesn't matter.
we're kind of doing a transition here,
Yeah.
as in, I've been filling in for liaison and was able to be there at the start of the meeting. And also Councillor Gore had to return to work a little bit early, so I was there for the end of the meeting as well.
We can have a duet presentation. Go ahead.
I did, song and dance, maybe, I don't
We
know.
skip that.
But
just do
yeah, let's do
presentation.
that. I just want to add to Councillor Gore's comments that a focus and that the AOA works quite closely with the Tourism Association as well to get direction and provide feedback. And so they are really hoping that there will be a strong focus on the restaurants in the area. And that will be coming up as well. But I'd also like to draw all of council's attention to a letter that was dated December 12th, and it was regarding bus stop improvements. And my apologies, because I realized that the letter was in fact addressed to both myself and Councillor Gore with a CC to council. And I just read it, the whole thing as it coming to council. So I am very aware that that the AOA has not received a reply or a response to that letter, not even to say that it's been received, and perhaps that's on me, I'm not sure. I did forward that again then just today once I realized that, and with the hope that that will be going to staff at particularly, I imagine, the engineering department, as it outlines a number of recommendations for improving accessibility while working on bus stop improvements. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, a thought
Right.
there.
And I saw the notice, Councillor Beal, for today anyways, but I think what we should do is ensure that gets recognized on the next agenda as correspondence. Anyways, to us, and then the council can have a look at it in the public eye, and then maybe address that correspondence to staff to whatever the recommendations are on that, or to prepare a report. That would be the time to do that, because obviously everything is to do with workload from our staff. And so I think from what I saw on it, it would be appropriate to bring it up to our CAO when she's in the room to advise if they could do a report on the following piece of correspondence that's on the agenda. So with having said that, staff are already nodding anyways, that we'll have this included as correspondence on the next agenda.
Perfect, thank you. May I move on to the next?
Carry on to the next
Okay.
one. Sure.
So regarding another letter, actually, the Early Learning and Childcare Council of Oceanside has sent a letter off to everyone. There was a letter dated February 5th. And in that letter, there is a request for a letter of support for the $10 a day early learning childcare program, as it plays a critical role in supporting the $10 a day promise. And it highlights the critical need for affordable childcare. Now, I recognize that the provincial budget has just been, discussed and released. However, one can always be optimistic that at a future time, things might improve. But at the recent meeting with the Early Learning and Childcare Oceanside, it came up time and time again of the important role that childcare provides, not only directly for families, of course, but it also really improves access to the workforce, which in fact has economic benefits for our community and beyond that for the province. Right now, we have only 90 families who are here actually accessing the Boys and Girls Club here. accessing the $10 a day program, which means that they pay about $200 a month if their children are going full time. And this leaves families in the other, there are another 38 licensed childcare facilities. And so those folks are paying anywhere from $600 to $1,200 a month. And in many cases, of course, there are people who just can't afford that. And so they're not actually out in the workforce. So the request, and again, I don't know of what the best procedure would be, but the request is for our council to provide a letter of support for continuing with the $10 a day program, because it's, I think the concern is that that rollout will be slowed down considerably.
Thank you. Any further reports that aren't on the agenda? Seeing none. Council, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilor Wood, moved by Councilor Wood, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor of adjournment? It carries unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, folks.